Israeli forces have carried out attacks across the Gaza Strip in violation of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire. There's been heavy shelling in Deir al-Balah, Rafah, Khan Yunis and Gaza City. Some of the attacks happened in the areas under Israeli control inside the so-called Yellow Line. That's where Israeli forces had withdrawn to as agreed under the first phase of the ceasefire deal. But Palestinians crossing the unmarked boundary have repeatedly come under Israeli fire. Many have been killed while trying to return to their homes. Let's get an update from our Hani Mahmoud, who's in Gaza City for us. So, Hani, another day and more violations of the ceasefire. Tell us about what's happened.
Folly, these violations are not new. In fact, these violations have never stopped. Even when we talk about the ceasefire that took hold back in October, it is still the same exact constant sound of explosions that have been going on for the past 2 years and continue even after the ceasefire was signed and the ceasefire took hold. But still, that constant sounds of explosion, the deployment of drones and attacks, and the Israeli military continues to carry out major attacks inside the area of the Yellow Line, and these attacks are concentrated on remaining buildings, public facilities, infrastructure, residential clusters under the guise of destroying or dismantling terror infrastructure. But many of the people who are familiar with the area, they report that these areas where the Israeli military is operating, whether it's in eastern Gaza City, further northern part of the Strip, or even the central area and the southern part of the Strip, all made of residential cluster and farmland that have been completely destroyed by the Israeli military. So in the past, few days, the Israeli military went outside the Yellow Line and started carrying attacks in areas where the vast majority of displaced Palestinians have been pushed to shelter. That's about 300 meters outside the Yellow Line. Just caught people off guard, as these attacks had no prior warning whatsoever. Just and is casting fear and a state of panic that this could be the beginning or mark the beginning of a wider military actions by the Israeli military, which has no limit to where it can attack and what time it can attack. It also increases the fear, the level of fear that this is a state of permanent displacement, particularly for families who just had returned and they were hoping and looking forward to the beginning of stage 2 and can move back to their homes. But the reality on the ground tells a different story.
Yeah, and many of the victims, Hani, since the ceasefire have been children.
Absolutely. This is the tragic part. And over the past 2 years and over the course of our reporting for 2 years, we can't recall a day without reporting on children arriving to the hospitals, either critically injured or just pronounced dead from the bomb sites. And on a daily basis, that number kept increasing. But if we look at just over the past month or so since the beginning of the ceasefire, which, by the way, for a lot of people we talk to, they tell us the ceasefire only exist on papers, because on the ground they still see a number of children being killed or injured, and we see a number of families are getting more displaced, and of course that increases the pressure and the stress on how they manage their livelihood on daily basis. Just according to UNICEF report, for every day at least 2 children are being killed, and we're talking about a period of time they're supposed to be calm, supposed to be quiet, and children should be kept off the chart of this ongoing killing, but unfortunately it's still happening. And apart from this, the trauma that the Palestinian children are living with and growing up with this is very horrifying. We hear from many of the specialists and from a trauma specialist who speak about how this is going to affect these children growing up intellectually and socially as well. This is also added to the already traumatizing experience of going through a famine, the enforced dehydration, starvation that have affected them badly and likely to continue to affect them unless there is something going to happen to end all of this suffering for Palestinian children.
Right. Hani, thank you so much. Thank you for your reporting. Hani Mahmoud in Gaza City.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.